This is Beyond the Big Screen podcast with your host, Steve Guerra.
Here is another Beyond the Big Screen teaser for episodes coming soon. I hope you enjoy and definitely tune in for the full episodes. If you want to learn more, you can head over to beyondthebigscreen.com. You can support Beyond the Big Screen on Patreon and Subscribestar. By joining on Patreon and or Subscribestar, you can help keep Beyond the Big Screen going and get many great benefits. Benefits include advertisement-free content, bonus content, and early access. The bonus content is great too. I will feature outtakes from episodes and live streaming episodes. If you join at the executive producer level, you will become just that, an executive producer of Beyond the Big Screen. You will be able to develop ideas for upcoming episodes, help find great guests, and of course have your name mentioned at the beginning or end of each episode. You won't just be a supporter, you will be a critical member of the team. Go over to patreon.com/Beyond the Big Screen or subscribestar.com/Beyond the Big Screen to learn more. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, send me an email to my email address, steve@a2zhistorypage.com, or follow us on social media by searching for A2Z History. I will see you next time Beyond the Big Screen.
Of the Hyksos, and their imagery is all around ancient Egypt. It's not something obscure with the coat of many colors. I think this is, it just fits too well to be an accident.
It kind of reminds me, though, I've seen pictures of leaders from the 19th century, the 18th and the 19th century. They had pictures of them painted as Romans in togas or in Roman armor or that sort of thing. And I could see somebody maybe 500 years from now getting confused. Well, this picture was painted, we're pretty sure it was painted in the 19th century, but why are they dressed like somebody from 1500 years earlier? Okay. And you could write up a whole story about that if you didn't really know.
Right. So the brothers hate him. Then there's the only lame scene, in my opinion, is the Kung Fu Joseph scene where he beats the wolves.
Yeah.
That's not the sense that I get from Joseph. I think he's delicate and gentle. Don't think he's a Kung Fu master.
Now, maybe we could talk about now is just what are your ideas on how this was written, who wrote it, the story, and when it was written, because I think that will help us place everything into, and then we can kind of build around that.
Okay, so I went over it on my podcast, a podcast of biblical proportion. I have a theory. You can call it a hypothesis. The story of Joseph was written in the mid-500s BC. And the historical context was a calamitous disaster that forced tens or even hundreds of thousands of people from the Levant to immigrate to Egypt. This is a real historical event. It was when the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar conquered the entire Middle East.
And I don't think there's really anything the United States could have done that could have won Soviet trust. So, but again, that's a debate that people love to have.
I think the one thing that I always have to wrap my mind around is that in the early 50s, it wasn't fait accompli that the West was going to win. You look at it and Russia and the US were kind of similar in economic output. I think North Korea, South Korea, like you see it now, and South Korea is so high tech and it almost seems like it's in the future watching it now. But I don't think that South Korea's economy got bigger than North Korea's until something crazy like the late 70s, maybe even early 80s.
Yeah, I mean, I think, the thing is that so much of the world was destroyed after World War II. And even parts of Western Europe, there was an appeal that communism, unfortunately, had an appeal to a lot of people. And here's Europe, including Western Europe. Central Europe, for sure, was absolutely destroyed. And people felt that just a decade earlier was the Great Depression. So there were already people that felt very leery of capitalism. And by the time, the early 50s come around, communism has spread into China. Now, not only the biggest country geographically, Russia is communist, but the biggest country population-wise is communist. And so I think that, and they also had the bomb. They had developed the bomb by then. So, yeah, I mean, there was a lot of reasons. I mean, I remember being in college and people laughing at the idea of when Sputnik happened and Americans freaked out about it. And they thought that, oh, well, how silly, that they would care about this little ball revolving. But in their eyes, they thought, well, if the Soviets can put a satellite in space, they could probably put a nuke into space, and who's to stop them? So, and they saw millions of people, hundreds of millions fall under communism. So yeah, context is very important.
Yeah, for sure.